Welcome back to RFD-TV Live with AGROTAIN. I'm Mark Oppold. As we head to the top of the hour, John, you've been holding on long enough. John from Kansas, finally your time. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you folks for taking my call.
Sure.
I was wondering about, I've got an irrigation circle, and I was putting 25 or 30 pounds of nitrogen on per circle, and I'm wondering would AGROTAIN Plus help when I was putting the fertilizer on?
Right, great question as far as irrigation.
Yeah, I think it would. I get that question a lot, actually, in Georgia. Again, we're 40% irrigated. It's center pivot irrigation. Some of these center pivots are very, very large, 200 acres. And the question comes up, it takes a day or so sometimes for that irrigation pivot to get around. And like Jimmy mentioned, that volatilization can occur under the right conditions right away. It starts right away, so, and you can lose a lot in even 1 or 2 days. So I think it does have a fit through the pivots, as we call it. So. And
again, there's information on the website. Would there be agrotain.com for as far as irrigation questions? John's gone here right now, but if you wanted to learn more, you could go there and find out.
Yeah, we've got an awful lot of information on the website, and of course there's contact information for the entire staff. So if he can't find the answers to exactly the question he has, we'd be happy
and
to
you'd have a representative in Kansas.
Oh, absolutely.
He could even
yes.
might be nearby.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the call, John. Let's go back to Kentucky, actually. Roy, thank you for calling. Your question.
Yes, thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
My question is, will AGROTAIN work on ammonium sulfate as good as it will on urea?
No, sir. AGROTAIN is not designed for ammonium sulfate. We're urea specific, either urea, UAN solution, or a fertilized blend that has it in there. We do have people that are treating the urea and then blending some ammonium sulfate in with the urea. It would work in that situation. But straight ammonium sulfate, you would not, AGROTAIN would not give you any benefit out of that. But if you're looking at cutting the cost of what your fertilizer is costing, because ammonium sulfate per unit of N, it is pretty expensive. And because it's 21 and urea is 46%. So a lot of people that needs a little bit of sulfur, they'll put out some ammonium sulfate, but they'll also blend urea with AGROTAIN in there with it. So that's where AGROTAIN would fit into that, but straight ammonium sulfate would not put AGROTAIN with it.
Very good. Anything to add, Michael, to the question regarding our caller and Jimmy's response there?
Yeah, Jimmy makes great points, and the important thing to remember is that AGROTAIN is specific to urea. It's not for ammonium nitrate, it's not for ammonium sulfate, it's not for anhydrous ammonia, it's specific to urea.
Very good. We want to talk about something we didn't mention as it relates to forages, Dr. Harris, and I think if we can, Tom, get the slide ready here, talking about volatility. We talked about it in rice and in cotton and in corn as well. But I want to make sure you cover that as far as the forages are concerned. A lot of people out there asking, hey, questions.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, volatilization in forages is a real big issue. And Dr. Hancock did do a similar study that I had done. I showed you his chambers before, and this is the data from that study. He has a 2-location average. And you can see you got untreated urea on the left, AGROTAIN in the middle, and the imitator on the right, and control the last. And again, the shorter the bar, that means the product worked. And there's sets of bars here, and on the left is 2008, and on the right is 2009. But in every case, you can see that AGROTAIN, those middle 2 bars, are both down. And look at the difference in the years. There was a lot of volatilization in 2008, not as much in 2009. So again, it depends on the conditions. But the point here is that the AGROTAIN is working very effectively on urea fertilizers.
All right. Great we got that in. Appreciate that. Thanks, Tom, for getting that to us. Go ahead. Yes, Jimmy.
You know, I look at university studies from Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas,
Louisiana,
the North Dakota, Montana. As those slides showed, the volatilization will vary from year to year, time to time, because we're dealing with the environment out here, and the environment changes. But one thing I've seen every time, AGROTAIN always reduced ammonia volatilization. And in fact, AGROTAIN is the only product that is shown to control ammonia volatilization, and it's the only product recognized by AFCO as a urease inhibitor. So I think it's good that we've seen several different slides here with volatilization, and you've seen that AGROTAIN has controlled that volatilization. And we all know when volatilization happens and you lose nitrogen, that is robbing your yields. And if you don't make the yields, you're not going to make the profit.
Absolutely.
That's what we're all in business for, to help those farmers make that profit.
Help the farmers. Amen. Hope we can help John from Kansas. He's our next caller. John, thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. I was wondering about the temperature-wise and that there AGROTAIN. I use some in winter wheat up here, and I couldn't really tell it made a difference. Is there a temperature change in that stuff? Because, I mean, I got a first cousin down in Georgia, and he tries it, and he says it does good. I was just wondering about the temperature difference between here and there, and what would make it work like it belonged to do.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, John. Good question. I think we just kind of talked about that a little bit as it relates to volatilization in different areas of the country. Jimmy?
Yeah, and I think you had a program here a few months ago with a study that we had out of Montana, and the temperature was freezing, and the ground was frozen and all, and we still, the AGROTAIN controlled ammonia volatilization, and the straight urea lost about 40%. And again, different times there's a different amount lost. And nobody can tell you how much you're going to lose, but the thing that you always know is that AGROTAIN is going to hold more nitrogen available there. But because those conditions, and we don't know when we're going to get the rain, we're not going to get the rain. But the temperature, we've had it in very, very cold temperatures and still had outstanding control.
So the caller here has a brother in, I think he said he was in Georgia. He's in Kansas. So would there be, bottom line, would you say there could be a relationship between the temperature change and he might notice a little bit of difference from his territory from somebody in the South necessarily?
You know, temperature is one of the factors. There's several factors that it controls, that affects ammonia volatilization. Moisture, though, is the #1 factor as far as I'm concerned. The more moisture you have, the greater the volatilization. The higher the temperature, the greater the volatilization. The more residue that you've got out there, and the lower the cation exchange capacity, the more sandier soils you're going to have more. But all those are factors, and again, I can't tell you when or how much you're going to lose each time. All I can tell you is AGROTAIN is going to lose less than the urea will.
Yes, sir.
Very
good. All right, you saw the telephone number there, callers, 866-547-9696. Still time for you to jump on the telephone and join us, as Richard has done. Go back to Georgia. Richard, thank you for the call.
Yes, sir.
Your question.
I'm thinning some 15-year-old longleaf planted pines and was going to put some urea, about 100 pounds of N on per acre on it. Increase my pine growth. Will that work with that?
All right, thanks again. And we'll be learning from Richard's call. Dr. Harris?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, another one of our researchers in Athens, Dave Kissel, has done some work, and Miguel Cabrera, looking at fertilizing pines in Georgia with urea and volatilization. And it's a big issue, and again, AGROTAIN would be a very good fit in that situation.
But he could maybe get in contact with that. Would that Forage website be any help to the caller or not?
It might, but start with the county agent. We have a very strong county agent delivery system in Georgia. You can start there, and they can get a hold of us, or on the website. They can find us.
Another application you wouldn't think about, thinning pines, but a great question here that helps us out.